It's episode 178.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at. With your hosts, Shane Chapman and Wade Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
Good day, gentlemen.
What's up?
It's a great day.
Wade, Shane, Bryce here to serve you today.
Woo!
Bryce, how's your day been?
It's been quiet.
Has it?
Yeah.
Because you've been...
Because I got lots of shit done because you guys aren't in the office.
The two distractions were gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially Shane.
2 days ago, it was like, I don't know what, it was like 1:30 or
She had
something.
like story time with Wade right away. Hey,
2 days ago.
No warm up.
It's like 1:30 and I walked into Shane's office. I had my man purse over my shoulder, computer packed in. I was like, I'm out of here. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I can't work here anymore. There's so many people that come here. I have 3 permits to do and 2 3D designs. I can't be here.
Right.
And he was just like, okay.
See you later.
My phone is active. You can call me or text me, but I'm not here.
Yeah.
So the 2 of us are out of the office today. You feel my pain.
Hey, why do you think I moved into that office and then I refused to move out?
When I was coming,
Squatters' rights.
when I was coming back, Shane was
Yeah,
like,
you made your choices.
yeah, when I
Wade.
came
You
back,
left.
Shane was like, are you taking that office? I was like, oh, I don't feel right doing that. I was like, oh.
You could try, but
We're going to build walls. We'll build some walls across. We'll all have offices.
Make for some great content. The scrap for the office. You guys should do.
Yeah.
So Bryce was here working in peace and quiet up here with the bookkeeper, who she doesn't make that much noise until she decides to make noise.
on
And then-
Fridays she makes noise.
Wow.
Was she karaoke
Then
today?
she karaoke.
She was, yeah.
What was she singing?
Wow.
Every Friday. She was singing some AC/DC today.
Oh boy,
good.
Thunderstruck.
yeah,
of course.
Thunderstruck. That's what she always sings on
Wow.
Fridays.
Yeah. It's wild.
It is.
It's like
Because it's not like, she's a nice lady, but it's
she's
not
she's amazing.
not
the
a
best lady.
great singing
She's
voice.
a
But
worst
she,
singer.
to be fair, she warned us of that straight up front.
She did.
When
She
she
did.
first started, she's like, heads up, I like to sing, but it's not pretty.
No.
And we're like, okay. And then the first...
You're like, who needs a bookkeeper that can sing?
I shit you not, the first time it happened, I didn't believe what was actually happening.
Right.
I was here a little bit after hours. Obviously she was too. So, but I didn't know she was. Her office is, how long wide is this building? 70 feet?
65.
So her and I literally sit 60 feet away.
And she's got the door, like there's 2 doors in between you.
Yeah, there's my door, there's an open space, there's another door, then there's her door.
Yeah.
3 doors.
3 doors.
Down.
3 doors.
I'm sitting here working one day, and all of a sudden I hear this like I'm convinced that some sort of animal is
Cat is
being
small,
tortured,
like a raccoon.
in the confines of
for
my
sure.
store, and that's not okay. I'm not good with animal torture in my store. And so I perked up, stopped doing what I was doing. I was like, what is that? Listened for a second. And then I got up and I walked all the way across the building to see what the hell was making this noise. And I got like within 10 feet of her offices. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
She's
singing.
She's attempting
I
to.
turned around and I walked back quietly. To this day, she doesn't know I was sitting outside of her office.
Until
But
she listens to this episode.
she warned us.
She did.
So she knew. We were out of the office today because, hey, golf season is officially open.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Golf opened yesterday here. And so we patiently waited till today.
Patiently waited.
Shane,
Not
when was
super
the last
patient
time-
for me.
Shane, when was
I
the
hadn't-
last time you golfed?
Like I played in the Scramble tournament last year, the WRLA tournament in Kenosee in September.
That was in September.
It was a scramble, and I believe that's the only time I got. Like in the
You
last
didn't play
5
any golf
years.
last year, period. Other than that.
No. Every year I play the Scramble tournament for WRLA. And that's
Okay.
so I'm on average, I'm 1 round a year, maybe 1.2 rounds a year. And they're Scramble tournaments. They're not even like a real round of golf.
What are you talking about? You played mini golf this year.
I did play mini golf at a Glow place there and fucking crushed
See?
my 5
Your
and
short
2-year-olds
game.
and
It's
my
the short
wife.
game.
They had nothing.
They sucked.
They did suck. So we went golfing today. Wade lined it up and he's like, want to golf Friday? I was like, boy, oh boy, I got shit to do. But you know what? Yes.
all have shit
yes,
to do.
I do.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, I do want to get out of the
Yeah.
office and go golf. So we did.
Yeah.
And
Thank God.
It was great. It was a little bit windy.
Got lots of
One of
stuff
the-
done.
And Bryce was like, thank God you guys did.
One of the best things about what we've done over the last 6 months is we've put a lot of people in place to take care of a lot of things for us. We still, like Shane and I still have lots to do.
You get more shit to do.
I noticed that you updated my to-do list today, actually, while I was on the golf.
Sucker.
I noticed that.
Oh, you want to golf, do you?
Yeah, and I was like, we're
Here
trying to
you go.
listen to music, and it's like, bing, 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 and I like opened my phone up, and I was like,
That's all for me.
Bryce is updating the shit I need to do for Tuesday. And I'm like,
That was
ah!
probably the hole where you gracefully took a 9, which is probably generous.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
I rocked you.
You just go ahead, pick that up. That's a 9. Bryce is in my kitchen right
he
now.
finally got on the green. He's like, I'll take a 3-putt, thanks. Picks his ball up and walks to the cart. It's like, well, it took you 6 to get there, so
Yeah.
sure.
So, anyways, it's what's great is that I feel like we're getting to a place where we can actually get away from the store a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's starting to happen. And I don't know if this is like a good or a bad thing, but like I've always been able to get away from the store because I believe that you just should.
Yeah.
I believe that like you just should. Even if it's like some customers suffer a little bit or some contractors suffer a little bit. And Shane doesn't do that. He is
Didn't.
always.
I'm all in now.
Yeah, he is
I
always-
realized what I was doing wrong before.
He has always stayed. He's always like grounded out until like 2 a.m. doing a design. And it's like, Shane, listen, they don't care that much about you. You can just do it the next day. And he's like, no, I told them I would. And it's like,
Dependable.
That's what I was going to say.
don't you,
right?
you don't have to.
Maybe we should meet in the middle.
Yeah. And I feel like what we're doing now is closer to that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So anyways, it was great to golf.
But in
today.
the past,
And it was
I
great
probably
to
would-
get Shane out to golf today.
Because I had a meeting at 10 this morning, which is my own meeting. I scheduled it with our people to train. We do our weekly training that we start doing.
Yeah.
Fridays at 10. You're like, want to golf Friday at 9:30? I was like, I can't have the training. I was like, but I really should just say yes to things more often. So I moved the training and it was all fine. We did the training yesterday instead. Like that's,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was a fine solution to the problem.
Fine solution.
So anyways, and I had a blast today and I golfed fine
and beat
for
our
me.
wrap, right?
And well, on the front 9,
Did you gamble on that?
I didn't gamble today. No.
You should have bet him for like 2%.
I'm not in a position for gambling
You should
at
have
golf.
bet him
Hey.
on 2% on traded lumber.
Well, I
Like
would have
if you-
lost in the end. After the front 9, I would have been okay.
No, just bet him on the front nine. You go hole to hole.
Yeah. I feel like I probably did beat him hole to hole, to be honest.
See?
Match play.
Like on match play, I think I bet you I took like 12 holes in it, but I had a couple of doozies, like a couple of 8s that really burnt me. And those holes he happened to knock down like 4s and 5s.
Oh, there you go.
So that was the difference probably.
play.
But anyway,
Okay.
enough of our shenanigans. What we want to talk about today is getting into, this is, if you weren't aware, May is Deck Safety Month.
I wasn't aware, actually.
You weren't aware?
No,
Well, now you are.
that was something you did for me.
And so May being Deck, I mean, I think it's a NADRA driven thing that calls May Deck Safety Month, but it's
I mean, anybody can make up one of those months.
Yeah,
we
like-
could make up one of those months.
right. Yeah.
The ultimate
like-
deck shop month.
Right. That was last month, right? It was poor, but May makes sense because like nobody celebrated us in April. But May is a good month for Deck Safety Month because it's generally like down the south, it springs earlier, but generally May is when things really start to like happen.
Really happen.
At least in our market, right? Like April can be good depending on the year. Sometimes the weather's still shitty. This year, the weather was shitty.
It was
in April.
real
Like,
shitty.
I would think that like 3/4 of Canada looks at May long weekend as like the kickoff to the season.
May long weekend, which is the third week in May, is kind of like unwritten rule that that's when summer really starts.
even my
you're not
sister-
planting
Yeah.
a garden till then. You're not going
Yeah.
camping until then.
Yeah.
May long weekend is the start of summer.
And in the US, because they don't have long weekends ever, they have like 0 long weekend holidays, right?
What?
Is that-
No, they have-
what?
That's
Is that-
not
They
true.
have way less holidays than us, right? The
Oh,
US
yeah.
has
Yes.
have way less
That's right,
holidays than
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
But May long weekend,
socialism.
yeah. But May long weekend is a holiday for them, but it's like
What is it? What is it here?
It's Victoria Day here.
Victoria Day here, but what is it? Are you sure they have it in the States?
I think they do. I think they have
Centennial
May
Day,
long
I feel
weekend.
like.
Well, Scott's in here. He'll let us know.
Scott,
Scott,
what's May long
so
weekend?
here's the deal, Scott. We have a holiday. We have January 1st. Then we have one in February, which is Family Day.
Family in Saskatchewan.
And then March we don't.
Right.
Sometimes.
St. Patty's Day we get
Sometimes.
blasted, but
But
no,
we
we
have,
don't get it off
have,
work.
We have March, April. There's Easter that floats between the two.
Between the 2 months.
One of those months gets Easter,
Right.
depending on when Jesus died. But we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But it was one of those 2 months.
But because we don't get a holiday, we let kids get off school for a week then for spring break.
But then May,
They get 2 weeks off now.
Like a week in February,
Freaking
a week in
reading week all of a
So,
sudden for
January
elementary
has
kids.
a long weekend. February has a long weekend. March, April shares one. May has one. June does not. July does.
Ooh.
August does.
June
does
Does
technically.
not.
No,
Doesn't?
No, it does not.
technically doesn't because
June does not.
the beginning of July is a long weekend.
June does not have a holiday. July has a holiday.
Yep.
August has a holiday.
Scott says there's no May long in the
Oh,
States.
look at you.
I didn't think there was.
Sucks to be you.
It's a good one. That May long is a good one.
August.
It's so good we call it May long.
It's May long.
We don't call it Victoria Day.
It's May long.
It's May long weekend. It's the first long weekend that
Exactly.
matters.
August has one.
September does not.
No, October does.
How much time are we dedicating to
October does.
November does.
November does.
December does.
December does.
this? Remembrance Day, Christmas.
Thanksgiving.
We have 2 months.
Thanksgiving
We
in
have
November.
October.
We have
October,
2
yeah.
months that do not. We
Yep.
have June and September
Awful months.
that do not have long weekends.
September? Labor Day.
Yep, he's right.
We have one.
Ba-boom.
No, it's 2 because March or April counts.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
West Coast Deck says April is when it starts for me in British Columbia. March is when the phone starts ringing. So often that's the case here too. But given that we're in Saskatchewan, sometimes we're a month behind. And this year is one of those months.
British Columbia,
We're behind. The phone
like-
started ringing in April. Things are kicking off in May.
yeah. It's not a whole lot of like there's snow in British Columbia, but it's not the same.
God damn. That was a long way around to say that May's a good month for deck safety. because that's when people generally get out and start doing outdoor things in their backyard.
There you go.
It's time to inspect your deck.
Right.
I don't know if you're lining
Get
up
on
the
with
intro
it.
music or
Well,
not.
I had been, but you just kept talking.
So let's get on to the topic today and hit it, Bryce. Go. Yeah, Mac Dreamy joins us on Instagram. What's up, Mac? He printed our signs for us up in Saskatoon. Your vinyl sticker ones. Yeah, that's where that came from.
You're all like, Mac Dreamy joins us. I was
Mac
like,
Dreamy.
Is this an investor in the company?
No, but you do.
Dreamy.
Unknowingly, you do have a relationship with a guy that goes by the name of Mac Dreamy.
Mac Dreamy.
So now you know.
Should we get him some of this stuff?
We should. So today's drinks are courtesy of Bryce because Bryce is part owner
I own, yeah.
of a wine distributor?
Importer agency. Can't
A
say
wine
distributor.
can't say
Just stop,
distributor.
just stop. Just let him.
Wine
just
import
stop. Let
agency.
him go.
Yeah, I am an owner of a wine import agency in Saskatchewan
Yes.
called Mira Wine, and we import natural, biodynamic, low intervention, and all around high quality wines.
Everything between import and wines was dead to me.
That's fine.
You import wine, they're fancy.
Yeah,
And
this isn't fancy. This is good stuff. This is chug. It's called glue wine. You just chug it.
Glue
Yeah.
wine?
Glu- 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 glu-
Oh yeah. Well, I could see that. It's pretty
That's how
smooth.
I actually felt about this.
Yeah, you could just pound this all summer.
Scott Kelly says this will be fun. Can already tell.
Yeah.
So Scott messaged us on the way we were driving in from golf. We were golfing out at a course about 30 minutes out of town called Deer Valley.
Which, if you ever come to Saskatchewan, Scott, I will take you there.
We will golf there. And on the way in, he's
It's
like,
the best
podcast
course.
today? And I was like, you betcha. But we're just on the way in. We're 10 White Claws deep. Any topic
That was
ideas?
Shane. I wasn't drinking White
And
Claws. I
so
was drinking beer.
That's not true. You were deep into White Claws as well. You did have some beers. I did not. I went full White Claw today.
Yeah.
But you were 80% beer.
Do you like White Claws?
No,
I didn't until today,
when
actually.
You're drinking White Claws.
So he handed me, he offered a beer and White Claw today, and it was 9:30 this morning, and I was not in a beer mood
You're
yet.
golfing.
But I was like, I'll take the raspberry White Claw. That feels a little bit more breakfasty. And I was like, I know I don't. I was like, I know I don't really like these, but I don't feel like a beer yet. So I had the White Claw, and I was like, well, damn, these are hitting
shit,
different than the
boy.
last time I had these. So it wasn't 10. It was probably like
11.
Oh, wow.
7 or 8. I'll say 7 or 8 at as of right now.
Yeah.
And so told Scott that, and he's like, well, this is going to be a good episode. And I was like, you got any ideas? Because we're racking our brains on the drive in. And he's like, well, it's deck safety month. So courtesy of Scott Kelly.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Precision Construction.
I think this is the longest intro
Here we go.
ever.
It is. That's not true. You remember like before episode 100? The feedback was awful. So we've come up with 8 things today that if you have an existing deck, these are things you should probably check in the spring to make sure that they're still in good shape, because you don't want your deck falling down or you falling through it or whatever.
A flabby deck is just
nobody wants a floppy deck.
I really want to say this whole episode is going to be full of innuendo.
Can we do that?
Can we do that?
Why not?
Here for it.
That's what we're talking about, decks.
That is your job today. You step in there anytime.
Listen, not a single person likes a soft deck.
You don't want to see a soft deck.
I said it was Bryce's job. Right?
Hey, Bryce, say soft deck.
So especially if you have a wood deck, these are going to be all topical. If you have a composite deck, some of them may not be relevant, but these are 8 things you should probably check, poke around, see if your deck's still in good shape.
Don't want crabs.
Because you don't want to find out, like finding out too late means your deck is on the ground, typically with these things. Or somebody's been hurt or somebody's like, something's gone really wrong to find out your deck was not safe.
Yeah, we've had a couple, I would say like probably no more than a couple, but pictures on Facebook.
No more than a couple.
No more than a couple where decks have literally fallen off of houses.
Yes.
Right?
Like so not ones that we've supplied yet.
Yeah, you always hear about stories of people that had decks that was like, the ledger's pulling away or looks suspect. But in Regina, small town, there's only 250,000 people here, but over the course of the last 3 years or 4 years, there's only been 2 decks that have literally fallen off the house.
That have made the news.
I think all of them make the news.
I'm pretty
if they're 2 feet off the ground, they probably don't.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's the ones that crash and people get hurt in that make the news. But I've seen a couple that I know for sure that were absolutely not safe that never made the news. Right. One that did fall off the house, one that people fell through, but it wasn't on the news.
Oh, you should have called them.
I should have.
You should have called the news. Let them know.
Anyway, number 1 is to check the tops of the beams. So
how do you check the tops of beams on an already decked deck?
Let's be clear that this is a homeowner focused one. No contractor is going to learn things today. But the tops of so the beam is the structure underneath your deck that's supporting the whole thing. The joists, like the joists are landing on top of the beam. The tricky thing here, the reason why beams need to be checked is because beams are essentially just laminated plies of lumber, 2 or 3 2x10s commonly sandwiched together.
And could be 2x8s or they could be separated.
But they're just fastened together by the contractor.
Right. In some areas, they might be full lumber, like a 4x8 or something. But here, at least, they're plies. Okay. What can happen is that water and dirt and crap gets down in between the plies of lumber.
Yeah, don't want that.
Does not dry out real fast there because there's not a lot of airflow there. And if wood stays wet, wood rots. That's just how it goes.
Nobody wants wet wood.
What? That's not how that should have went. Everybody wants wet wood.
That's what I thought.
This is why Bryce has the innuendos. So that spot, I would say this is not typically the setup for a catastrophic failure. Like if the tops of your beams start to get a little bit soft, it's not going to collapse, but it's the start of something
over
serious.
time.
But that's a pretty good indication if things are not going well. So if the top of your beam is rotted, there is a really good chance that your joists are also in trouble. They're maybe not
where
rotted,
they're touching,
right? They're maybe not rotten, but
they're starting to.
But
they might be starting to.
What you can't do at that point is you cannot remove treated lumber and put composite down. Because you have some structural failure at that point. Yeah. And so that's a really
I feel like that one's going to get some use today.
That's a really good place to start, right? And like looking at that, because that's going to happen faster than joist rot is going to happen.
And if you catch it early enough and the beam's in trouble, you can replace, like if your joists are still good, you can replace your beam. You can get under there and
100%.
jack the thing up and replace the beam if you need to. But the beam is what's supporting the entire structure. So if that starts to fail, like you don't want to leave that, be like, it can fail a little bit more yet before, before I'm going to action this.
Easier to replace the beam than the
Way
joist.
easier.
Way
Way
easier.
Oh, absolutely.
So like
Yes.
no problem. You don't have to do it's work obviously, but
Sure.
Yeah,
easier to get in there and out. In and out.
100%. Replace. There
Super
is no
quick.
replacing the joists and leaving everything else.
Right.
If the joists are done, your deck's done.
Get a new deck.
If your beam's done for whatever reason and the joists are still fine, you can
It's kinda
fix
like-
that.
It's kind of like you can pick the whole deck up like 2 inches,
Like a house.
slide the beam out, put a
Yeah.
new one in, drop it.
Or an
right?
eighth of an inch.
Or an
So you can jack up 2 inches if you want, but you really just need to get the weight off it. Just send it. Just lift it a foot. So that was to specify right now. These are in no specific order. These are not in order of like
Where you should
severity or
actually
anything.
start
No,
to-
no.
Just like-
Just go for it.
Yes. Whatever.
Do you have ideas about what we should talk about? Yeah, I have ideas.
That was the first thing off the top of Wade's head. Number 2 is the piles, or at least the pile connections. So there's a variety of ways that you can connect, that you can rest your deck on the ground or in the ground, right? There's 3 pretty common ways.
Yep. What are they?
Well, let me go through this, Bryce.
Whenever you're ready, how would you
Probably
rest your deck on the
Universally, the most common way is a concrete pile in the ground.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what
Right?
you're talking about.
Here, I would say that's not the most common way, but like in other markets, that would be the most common way. A concrete pile in the ground is what your deck's sitting on. The posts are sitting on concrete piles. More and more, they're sitting on screw piles, which is a newer technology, we'll call it. That's like better than a concrete pile, in my opinion.
So you think more decks are sitting on
Nope.
concrete piles?
Yes.
Like
Oh, yeah.
dug out,
100%.
poured concrete.
In the world,
It's
yes.
not even close.
Here,
Here?
no.
No. Okay.
Here, no.
Okay.
Nope. I
But-
would even argue that here, more decks sit on concrete piles here than screw piles.
I would put I don't have a lot of money, but whatever I did have,
I'd bet
would
a
put
shiny
against that.
silver dollar
versus screw
against
piles,
that.
maybe, but not versus adjustable grade
No,
levelers.
versus screw piles. That's what you said.
Yeah. Versus screw piles, sure, maybe.
All of
yeah.
your $11 you have.
Yeah.
Willing
Yeah.
to wager.
You can have 9 of it. I need 2. I need to get home on the bus. So you can be sitting on concrete piles, you can be sitting on a screw pile, or in some areas, they're okay with you not sitting on a proper pile at all. They're okay with you sitting on top of grade, whether that's a post resting on a block or some sort of leveler or adjustable saddle or an elephant foot or a cottage block or whatever you call that thing in your market. It might be sitting on that as well.
Is that multiple markets that have that? Is that just our market that you're allowed to
The
do?
cottage block thing? No, like I think it's more acceptable here than most places, but I believe that there's other markets that do. For example, like our friends at GH Leveler, if you roll back to episode 172, I don't know if that's
Yep.
it, but it's close
It's
around
close.
there. They have success selling their product into a lot of different markets.
Ontario,
and their
BC.
solution is not an in-ground pile. And so they have success elsewhere. I do feel like for some reason in the prairies, it's more acceptable here than just about anywhere.
It seems really relaxed here.
Super relaxed. But what you want to check here is, so if you have a concrete pile in the ground, because I trust that screw piles aren't going to do a whole lot of moving, but if you have a concrete pile on the ground, you're going to want to check and make sure, like, is that thing heaved? Is that thing still in the ground where it was supposed to be?
Yep.
Is your deck level right now? Or has that concrete pile frost heaved out of the ground 3 inches, throwing your deck at a level?
Yep.
And then what's it going to, like,
Yep.
what's it going to do going forward? Like, as soon as those things start to jack out of the ground, there's no going back.
You can't fix them.
They may come up 3 inches this year and then settle an inch, and then come up 3 inches and then settle an inch.
Yep.
But
Up
at some
and
point, they're
down.
going to be so jacked out
In
of the
and out.
ground
Yeah.
that they've essentially ruined the structure that is sitting upon them.
Right.
So you got to check those, make sure that they're still properly functioning. And if they're
Are we still
installed
working
properly,
on the innuendos here? I feel like
What do you
I
want?
didn't even
I
make a
feel like
jack
Bryce
joke.
is-
What do you
I just
want,
you
Wade?
to know.
I feel like
you want to
Bryce
take a
is-
crack at the 3 inch part of that joke?
I
Oh, I
feel
didn't
like
even go there.
Bryce
You
has
said-
really let us down on the innuendos.
Yeah, I feel like you took a job you weren't qualified for.
I said in and out a few times.
Well, I missed
I
that.
didn't even
Are
go
you
after you
going
saying
to-
jacked.
Yeah. The pile.
So he's lenient. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
So check that. Make sure that the pile has not like heaved out of the ground,
Heaved, yep.
and become unstable and not a good supporting structure. And also check to make sure that the post connection to the pile is still good because one of the you're eager.
Go ahead.
You're gonna wait. You're gonna wait until I'm done this.
Deliver your story.
Just wait. Go ahead.
The post sitting. What?
How
dare you?
Just faster.
Fine, take
Deliver
it.
your story faster.
Time's up.
Tell your story faster. But let me think about mine. You lost your chance. The post sitting on the concrete pile, if it isn't using a proper standoff or a proper connection to the pile, it itself may be developing a lot of rot at the bottom of the post where it connects to the concrete pile. So that may be rotten.
That's why you should use a GH leveler with your concrete piles.
Even if you're doing piles, some sort of standoff.
Some sort of adjuster as well.
Adjustable.
Right? So who was a customer you talked to on the way in? And he was just like, my deck has settled. Mark, right?
Sure.
Mr. Mark.
Guy by the name of Mark. His deck had settled and it was like, now all of a sudden the post isn't making contact with the support, the slab and the deck block. And he was like, I have this beam and this post and the post isn't touching the contact anymore, like the deck block. How do we deal with this? Well, there should be an adjuster there because in this market, the ground moves so much.
And that's why we probably don't do concrete piles.
Which is why it's hard to golf here.
Is that why?
Ground moves. And
It's just moving as you're playing.
right? You swing, it's like the ball was here, now it's here.
Right. I don't know if that's the ground's fault or if that's like White Claws.
White Claw fault.
I don't know. There's an argument to be made. Just to let you guys know, we're now down to 2 viewers on Instagram, which is an all-time low.
All-time low.
So Wade,
It's Friday, though.
You're saying check.
It's Friday.
There may not even be a connection between the post and the pile.
Yeah.
Maybe floating.
Yeah.
So check.
That's true.
Everything about that, right? Like it may be rotten, it may be heaved, it may be not connected properly in the first place. Check to make sure that the deck is resting upon a proper foundation of some sort.
Yep.
Because with the frost heave and whatnot over the winter, that can be okay one year, but not another year. I was trying to figure it out, but it won't let me click. Number 3.
Are they you?
Tops. I'll be one of them for sure.
One of them's definitely
Tops of the joists.
The other one's Scott.
So for this inspection, one of the best things you can do is grab a flathead screwdriver, put it in your pocket because you're going to use that for a lot of these things. If you're wondering if wood is rotten, poke it with the screwdriver a little bit.
Just poke it a little.
If it flakes a little,
then you should go to the doctor.
if it flakes a little
They're
bit,
poking things and they're flaking.
then it's not good. So this is the easiest way to check for the tops of joists. The issue here is that when you put especially composite decking on top of wood joists, water can get trapped between the decking and the joist top layer, right? Rains, water gets under there, it doesn't dry out real quick because there's no airflow there. You've got screw holes in there from the fasteners. And so that area can become susceptible to rot. And it's a really hard area to check because it's sandwiched at the top of the joist under the deck board. You can't really see it from above.
Yes.
And you might not have access below the deck to get under there to check it either. But if you do have access, what you can do is crawl underneath with that screwdriver and just poke around at the top, like half inch of that joist under the deck board. Poke with the screwdriver. If it's peeling and flaking apart, then you've got some dry rot happening there.
Yeah.
You should not be able to flick that away with the screwdriver at all. If it is, it's no good.
Yeah.
Your fasteners are no longer holding properly in there. The rot's only going to continue to get deeper. Your boards aren't being held down to the joist properly. It's bad news. So check the tops of your joist.
I don't disagree.
Thank you. Number 4.
Well, you looked at me and be like,
Well, I thought
you looked at me and you were
got things to say.
Go ahead and argue with that. I was like,
After the first 2, I was like, he's for sure going to have something to say. Number 4 is the deck boards themselves. So
you can tell.
We're going right up, right? Where they're connected. So the deck boards themselves it's usually fairly easy to tell. Where it's not sometimes easy to tell is if you've painted your deck in the past. And your entire deck is painted with the top coat film.
Who paints
stain
decks anymore?
I know.
Everybody
it's a horrible idea.
It's insane.
It's not even like some people. It's like lots of people.
That's wild.
But unfortunately,
Why?
the paint can hide problems.
It could probably cause problems.
It can cause absolutely. It can cause problems,
right?
And then it hides them, right? So often,
Sounds like a good
what can happen
product.
is the paint will crack flake, whatever, allows water to get underneath that paint into the board. And then of course the paint layers there are stopping it from drying out real well. The board itself can rot and kind of be concealed by the paint that's on top of it, especially if you then go paint over top of that again. So you run into some people sometimes where there's like a spongy board.
You ever been in a marriage where you were like,
oh, it's deep.
Whoa.
We'll just like not address this. We'll just like, just kind of like skim over this.
Pretend the problem doesn't exist.
Right.
And it's okay. It's like,
year one, you're fine.
We'll just deal with this later.
Right.
It's okay. We're just going to put a coat over top of this.
Yep.
And we'll go to this event.
Yep.
And then.
Boy, this is getting specific.
Yeah, right? I was going to say.
What event? What event are you going to?
I don't have an event. I'm just like, the whole time I was listening to that, I was just like, well, what a perfect analogy this is. It's like, you just cover it. You just don't really pay attention. You already kind of know it's not perfect, but you kind of like cover it.
And you walk around it.
That's what's happening.
Yes.
You
avoid that spot.
You know it's there and you avoid
that spot.
You already knew.
You know it's there.
That's why you painted it.
Been to people's houses before like that.
And
seen those relationships, those decks. But sometimes people are like, oh yeah, there's a soft spot there. Watch yourself. And it's like, that should never get to that point. That should not get to the point where we have to walk around that spot.
Exactly.
Or they've got plywood screwed on top of their deck over a spot. It's like, too late. You've gone too long.
We put a chair over it. Don't move that chair too much.
Have you seen the video where you're killing Strathcona exteriors with the marriage comparison? He's really digging that. Have you seen that TikTok with the guy who's loading shingles on his deck? He's about to replace his roof and he's bringing the shingles up one by one. And he's stacking them on his deck. And one by one, he slams them down. And what does a bundle of shingles weigh? 50 pounds?
26 pounds.
26?
Oh, okay.
To me, they feel...
I was going to say
50 nowadays.
Not 27 or 25. They're 26 pounds.
26, hey?
They cover 26 square feet.
Boy, those seem a
pound a piece.
Seem a lot heavier to me than...
a square foot.
When was the last time you laid shingles?
It's been a while, apparently. Now they'd probably feel like 130 pounds.
I lay a lot.
So, shingles?
Of shingles.
Yeah. Like... Never mind.
It's Bryce's job. Pay attention.
Yeah, it's okay.
So this guy got like what would be the equivalent of probably a half pallet of shingles on his deck. It was like, he came out the one time and slammed that next one down. And it was like the deck had too much. Boom. Whole things goes down. The whole deck goes down.
Do you want one too?
So
yeah, I want one.
That was obviously
this one?
Everybody can tune in now while we figure out our drink situation. That is a situation where it was more than just the deck boards. There was some other stuff going on there, but that was a result of a number of things that allowed that deck to fail because too much weight got onto it in one spot and it was not in good shape to begin with.
Right.
But if the deck boards themselves get to a certain point, they'll become soft enough that you yourself can go through them.
Oh, yeah.
Like trust me, you don't want to be cruising along your deck and your foot falls through. Like that's
but you know where that hole
broken
is.
leg.
It's not. You're not going to fall through. Your aunt's going to fall through it. Your mom, your grandma.
Yeah. Your mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law. See?
Yeah.
That's where you want to fall through.
There's like rainbows in every storm.
Exactly.
So check the deck boards. Poke around. Like if they're painted, have a walk around, make sure that there's no soft spots. That's what you're looking for. Is the spots that feel a little bit spongy underneath your foot are no shape. Like you don't want to leave that. Don't leave that for next year.
No.
At least replace that board.
Yeah.
And deal with the rest later if you can't afford to deal with it all now. But replace the board because that's no joke. You can literally break your leg and hurt
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very serious. Does composite, can it get like rotty and spongy? And is that
shitty stuff
you should look for?
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go.
It can.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Do some people paint their composite too?
Well, yeah, of course.
Why?
There's some out there.
Oh, sorry, but
if you have installed a good quality composite on your deck or composite, you shouldn't have to worry about this.
Right. It shouldn't even be on the list.
But shouldn't is different than reality because there's a number of really poor quality composites out there in the market that do have similar issues to wood. They can mold. They can crack. They can get soft. They can fail.
Right.
So you shouldn't have to worry about that with a composite deck. But I can't say that you don't worry about it because if you have crappy composite on your deck, it's possible that you could run into that. I've personally seen it. My mom's old deck had crappy composite on it that was literally cracking and failing.
What brand was it?
I have no idea, but it was the hollow core crap that I rag on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Something from Lowe's.
Speed
something
holes.
like Asian manufacturing. Like all the signs were there,
right?
For it being a bad product, and it performed as expected.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
So check those, and if it's composite, you might have to. But again, the screwdriver trick can tell you that too. If you've got a composite deck and you can see cracks happening, that's not good. That's not normal for any composite if there's cracks.
Did I miss anything?
So you missed a lot.
Yeah, we ramped up the educational part where you were gone so we could get through.
Yeah, we got serious for a bit. Number 5, rail post blocking. Now,
and also just like fascia mount connection.
Sure.
You're throwing out a lot of technical words.
Where were you when we made the list?
I made the list.
What would you like
how
to
about
say
you just
about
check your railings?
What would you like to say about fascia mount connection?
The rim joist often rots really fast. Like faster than all the other joists.
Right.
Because it's exposed on the outer edge as well as the top. The normal
if you
joists,
don't do it right.
Yeah, on the middle joist of your deck, they don't have the outside.
There's no exposure.
Penetration of the sun, if you will.
I don't know if it's called penetration.
Are we even trying anymore?
Sun penetrates.
Sun?
So the rail post blocking is primarily...
You're really stretching that one out.
I feel like you left to get a drink to think of that one.
Yeah.
I was gone for a while.
Nope.
Here's what I came up with.
Actually, what happened was Dana, when I left,
boy.
Dana tackled me about the...
Singing. Voyeurism. Now you know, says Strathcona. He knows the buttons.
I think I got that one.
We're actually talking about the pool that we have going on when your next child will be born.
Oh, yeah. When's that happening again?
Oh, is that a thing? Is there a pool?
That's a pool going on right now. Yeah.
Rail post blocking.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Is primarily talking about wood railing because I would say that fascia mount wood railing is less common nowadays because they don't allow you to notch a 4x4 post anymore when you're attaching railing. So therefore, a lot of guys are blocking on the inside of the rim joist, and they usually tuck it into a corner of a joist and a rim joist and then block it in the other two sides. You want to block it on all four sides. Well, now you've created this like 4-way water trap.
4-way?
4-way. Yes.
Rot fest.
Sounds like a wood orgy.
It's like orgy
awful.
of posts sandwiched around with like plies of lumber.
Everybody's just in on everything.
Everybody's in there. Yeah. And so all hands on deck. The post is in the middle of 4 plies of blocking. It's an obvious place again where water is going to collect in between the plies of lumber and the post, get in there, not dry out real well.
Right.
And then rot prematurely. The problem with that is it's on a pretty important part of the deck. It's the part that keeps you on the deck. The railing post, if that fails, you fall off.
You fall off the
Have
deck.
we talked about...
You fall off.
I might have missed a couple of parts, but have we talked about how typically decks used to be built of wood deck boards and they were responsible for some of the...
structural
of the moisture diffusion, if you will, right?
Wow.
Right? But a deck board used to take some of that.
Dr. Wade over here.
Is this an actual term on Dex.com?
No,
moisture
it's not.
diffusion?
I just made this shit up.
Okay.
But if you think about it, it's a treated deck board or a cedar deck board would actually take kind of some of that moisture, and some of it would evaporate.
You said it.
In Canada, we can put a U in there. We do that with a lot of words.
It was ERO in case
evaporate.
Evaporate. But now you have a composite deck board and it is plastic and it will take exactly 0 moisture unless it's
a shitty one. We talked about that. Don't worry.
unless it's a board that
Careful.
Unless it's a board that has some
exposed wood fibers in the bottom.
Exposed wood fiber on the
I
board.
see what you're saying.
And that exposed wood fiber will take some moisture content.
It'll take a little
Boy, I
bit
just
of
about
it.
blew that. If Shane wouldn't have covered my mouth, that was going to happen. So anyways.
Poke it with the screwdriver.
Poke it.
Poke it real good.
If just the
Did we
tip goes
talk
in,
about
what
that?
happens?
Of the screwdriver?
Did we talk about that?
Pretty innocent for the most part.
I don't know. You keep popping out kids, so
Just the tip.
Well,
Once
more
a
than the
year.
frickin' tip, right? Give me some credit. So rail post connections, check the base of the post where it meets the framing. It's a tough spot to get to because the decking's laying on top. You might have to get underneath and poke around the tops of the joists again in that scenario. But it's a common place that if you don't...
With a screwdriver, right?
With a screwdriver.
Okay.
Or like you could actually run a deck screw in at that point. You know what I mean? Like you could put a deck screw in that area. It will also tell you.
And if you can pull it out with your...
Well, like there's a lot of ways.
Oh man.
No, you can pull it with your hand. There's a lot of ways to tell if that's
You can pull it out with your...
It's wrong. Yeah.
Number 6.
Okay.
Ledger connection.
Yeah.
This actually should be number 1. This is the most common place for a deck to fail.
It's the worst.
I don't know if we're gonna end up on cancel this right now. Like
We can finish.
We're flirting with like being canceled.
But ledger connection.
Number 6, the ledger connection. This is the most, like when Wade was talking before about like, oh, there was 2 decks in the news that fell off the house. It was because the ledger connection wasn't right. Wasn't because of post rot. Wasn't because of joist rot. Wasn't because of beam rot. Wasn't because of deck rot.
Ledger connection.
Because the ledger was not connected to the house properly. So the most common way to build a deck is to attach the ledger board, the one end of the deck, to the house and allow the house to support the one end of the deck.
Right.
Then the joists run out and they land on a beam. Like that's 90% of decks. One beam, connect it to the ledger.
Boy.
That's how this deck is supported.
Would have said more than that, but yeah.
More than 90?
Yeah.
Fine. Like whatever.
like
Wade,
lots.
93?
100.
You want 93? 96?
7.
97?
Nobody floats decks here.
Sure. So
It's a ton.
a significant majority of decks are attached to the house and then they sit on one beam. Well, you're relying on that connection to the house to support the weight of half of the deck.
Half.
That's 10,000 pounds sometimes connected to the deck with what exactly?
That's the problem.
Some staples?
Screw.
Like
that's the biggest problem, right? It's like
that is the biggest problem. If a deck has
connection
fallen off the house, it's because that connection was incorrect.
So,
and it's tricky, that connection.
I have seen, and this even applies to interior landings. So you like go down a set of stairs, land at a landing, and then turn and go down like a bi-level house.
Yep.
That landing is fastened to the outside walls.
That's to the rim joist of the house.
Tons of people will just
bang, 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 done.
Smooth shank nails.
Yep.
Nail that on. There is no
Not my job.
structural connection there. There's no this shit drives me crazy.
Right.
I hate this. I hate this. I hate when a ledger falls off the house. I hate when a landing falls off a wall. I have said this before, and I hold true to this. When Shane and I become bazillionaires and we sell this company,
I can't wait.
I promise you, my job after running or owning or being an owner of the Ultimate Desk Shop,
Golf Pro,
is
No.
I will absolutely attack building inspectors who pass faulty ledger connection.
Wade the vigilante.
I'm not a vigilante. I think that this is something that is super easy to detect and fails on laziness every single time. It is not hard to do this. And it is the impact is significant because framers have no idea what they're doing. They frame with interior nails what is not rated for treated lumber. They run smooth shank, non-galvanized nails. Bright nails. And they just they blast 50 nails or 100 nails.
Right, because if I got more in there, it's gonna hold better. Into
a treated board onto smooth sheeting, and they're like, I got it. I nailed the shit out of that thing. No kidding. That's a term I've heard. I nailed the shit out of that. How could it fall off? It's like you didn't hit anything.
Yeah, less is more than that. You'd be better off to sink 4 GRKs than 100 useless nails.
I can't wait. I can't wait to be quotation retired because that's what I like.
Wade the building inspector.
I'm not even going to be a building inspector. I just have
What are you going to, how are you going to accomplish this? I'm just curious.
It might be like a code compliant thing that I go with the Canadian Wood Council on. I just like, I have a desire to like make a proper connection with a ledger to the house. That's it.
Right.
It's like, how hard can it be?
The solutions exist. It's a lack of knowledge of the guys who are building it.
But it's not code. When was the last time you?
Well, sure it is.
No, it's not.
Sure it is. Yes, it is. But there's nobody.
Accountable.
Following it.
No one's accountable.
No, but so go down to your top 20 contractors who shop at our stores and ask them I'll bet you your success rate on how to properly connect a ledger to a house is probably, even in your top 20, is probably not super hot.
Yeah.
And if you get below that 20, it's 0. None of them know how to properly connect that ledger to the house.
Right.
At least some of them know.
It's not that it's not in the book. How many of them have read the book? 0. I'll bet you 0 of our customers have ever picked up a code book.
But I submitted.
That's not to discredit our guys. There may be a couple.
I submitted a permit the other day, and I submit this permit, and I pay $200 to the city of Regina for the privilege of submitting this permit, and the person, which I'll use with quotations because I would like to call that person a severely different name, has no interest in checking the actual specs of that deck. My problem is not with the person that connected the deck. My problem is with the person that came out. And
so that
guy should lose his
that's his job. His job is to keep everybody safe.
He shouldn't lose his job.
Well, that's what we think his job should be. But in reality, that $100 that you're paying to the city is purely administrative.
Right.
Everything about that entire thing is administrative.
Right.
None of it is about actually ensuring that nobody's going to hurt themselves on that deck for the next 20 years. Nothing about that.
When that deck fell off in Regina, that deck fell off the house, and there was a lady on that deck, right?
She was on it, yeah.
A couple people on it.
And
I think her husband and her and maybe one other person. I think there's two.
It wasn't, let's clarify. This was a 2-story deck. This was a full story deck
13
off
feet
the ground.
Built by a home it was
builder.
A home builder built at the time the house was built by a subcontractor. So you had 3 people all saying like, not my fault. The home builder, the contractor, and the city.
Right.
Right. There was an inspector involved. There was a contractor involved. And there was a home builder involved. And all 3 of them were saying, wasn't my fault.
Not my fault.
Here's who I want. Not Shaggy. Is that right? Shaggy was like, wasn't me.
That Shaggy.
Is that
for
right?
some reason,
Shaggy's
on the ground.
You
wasn't
are right.
me.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't connected properly. Wasn't me.
I went Mystery Machine and Scooby Doo and
who? But she used 100 nails. Wasn't me.
Who I want accountable for that?
I really think we should make that song.
Right? I've been thinking about songs for a long time. Bryce, don't tempt me.
That's the inspector. That guy. I don't give 2 shits about that guy and his life and his family and his anything. His job. No, for real.
His family has nothing to do with this, Wade.
You thought we were
Ease up on the family.
You thought we were going to get canceled over innuendos.
Is there more of this delicious?
No, sorry, we're all out of that.
His job.
There's a little. His
job is to verify that it was connected properly.
100%.
And he didn't. He did not.
He didn't.
And the deck fell. And then what happened?
Nothing.
I don't know how that resolved. I don't know what happened after the end of that.
Nothing.
There was a lot of people fighting about whose fault it was, and I don't know how that ended up.
So here's the thing.
This conversation has resulted in a lot of comments.
You can't pass a permit.
We're back up to 6, by the way.
You can't pass a permit unless your inspector signs off on it. Remember last week?
Wrong button.
Yeah. You can't pass a permit unless your inspector signs off on it, right?
Yeah, correct.
So he or she has the ultimate power on whether it is good enough.
So, but at the time,
whose side are you on?
I'm on your side. But what I'm saying is, at that time that house failure happened, because that was 2 or 3 years ago. At that time, when you submitted for a permit application, they didn't require any details about how the ledger would be connected to the house. That was not a requirement of the application process. You didn't have to tell them how the board was going to be connected to the house. So is it the guy who went out to inspect the job's fault that he didn't inspect something that wasn't a requirement of the application process to begin with.
But don't you have to get a permit for the deck?
Yes, you do. And they would have had one. But what I'm saying is you used to be able to send a permit down to the city of Regina and say, I'm using 2x8 joists. And they're like, good, that's what we want, is 2x8 joists.
They don't give a shit how
It's
you...
only
We're using
9 feet out.
double 2x10 beam. They're good, that's what we want.
Check
They
mark.
never asked how you were connecting the ledger to the house.
Do they now?
They do now.
Okay.
But that's a change that's happened in the last 2 years.
Right.
So at that time, that should it have been checked? Absolutely. But the inspector himself may not have been on his docket of things to check because it wasn't even on the permit application.
That's such a
Make sure that
gray
there's
area.
whatever, 2 leg bolts per every joist bay, whatever it is, wouldn't have been on his things to even check because they never used to ask for that.
Shane,
We've been through the process. You and I have both been through the process with the city. We sat in those rooms and there's no science
there's dumb people in
behind
that room.
how they're coming up with the rules. They're
Shane.
looking at these resources, the Canadian Wood Council, the National Building Code. They're cherry picking the information that they want to include in theirs.
Yeah.
And then they're running it by a group of people like yourself and myself and some contractors and some other lumberyards and saying what do you think? And we're saying, we don't really like that. We should make that easier. And they're like, okay, well, there's no... They're taking what is a probably 40-page section out of the National Building Code and reducing it to 2 pages to make it easy enough so that Joe Blow can build his own deck somewhat in the imagery of a building code. But reducing it down and dumbing it down so much so that Joe Blow homeowner can build his deck this weekend and not get a failed permit.
And I think they can do that. I think they've done a really good job. Most cities have done a really good job of dumbing this down to 2 pages. I really think they do.
I don't want to push this conversation any further.
It's hot.
But how come we don't have federal building codes that
'cause
must be followed?
We don't like federal government.
And not provincial, but municipal specific building codes.
So
based on area.
we do.
So
but why
this
isn't
is
Ledger Code a federal?
No, this is
That's bullshit.
The part that sucks with Canada is we're
The Prime Minister.
everybody.
There's a lot of things.
The problem that sucks with Canada is that everybody's opinion matters, right? And so we have a national building code, right? And then we also have a provincial building code.
But it's never the national building code that's ever followed.
No,
Unless
the
the
International Residential Code is a set of guidelines.
It's a guidance.
And it's up to the not even provincial. It's up to local municipalities to decide what they're going to follow within the International Residential Code and what they're going to modify for whatever reason.
Right.
Because the soil conditions here are different. Because
Typically,
there should be some no-goes.
This is a hot topic. Cable rail. It's not on our. We're not going to talk.
Don't
about
check
this.
your cable
We're not gonna
rail.
talk
It's
about
going
this.
to
We're
be
not gonna-
fine.
But horizontal cable rail is approved by Canadian Building Code. That's that's a legit thing. There's some rules. In Saskatchewan, you can put it up. You have to follow these rules. And I think in Manitoba, the Manitoba provincial government was like, no, that's till it's still super dangerous. Not allowed. So federally approved, provincially approved in lots of places, but also not approved in other places. So I don't know who should be the governing body of all of our rules, because some of them are they shouldn't be up for interpretation.
That's
how to connect a ledger.
I talk to my kid about
How
this
do you
all the
connect a
time.
ledger?
There's
That
shit that is
shouldn't be
non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
You can't.
But you set up for interpretation, and it very much is up for interpretation. And the problem is that we all of last year sat on a 20-person board of how to
Not a big deal.
create the municipal
MBD.
guidelines for deck and garage permitting
Yeah.
all year.
we have a
Well,
vested
You guys were on the garage side.
On the garage side, yeah.
And I said all garages should be built out of tree lumber. I'm just saying.
But who is running those meetings? Like, this is no knock to anybody who was involved because you're just doing your job.
Yeah, you're just doing your job.
But there shouldn't even have needed to be a council of 20 people to get opinions on how that should be done. You should just have somebody like Glenn Matheson who knows his shit.
Right.
That guy
who
should
says,
do
this is how you safely do it. Because essentially what we had was a few administrative assistants collecting a group of not experts. I'm sorry, but
like,
you and I...
But like vested interest people.
You were vested interest,
we were
which
absolutely
is even
vested
more
interest.
dangerous.
Correct. Because what's our goal?
Your goal is to
sell
sell
more
shit.
GRKs.
Get safe decks out there? Sure, but we probably care about that more than the average lumberyard.
I'm going to sell more GRKs.
What we want to do is make sure that we don't have a lot of work to do, is what the average lumberyard is worrying about doing, right?
Yeah.
We want to know that when we sell somebody a deck package, they can go and build it and have no issues and come back to us with. That's what the average lumberyard is probably thinking.
Right.
So from our position, the easier the process is to get a permit, the better.
The better.
And even for the city, the easier it is, the better. Because then they don't have to tie up as much administrative budget in the process of delivering a permit as if they just have to fill out a simple one-pager on what you're doing, collect the $100, give the permit, and have that guy go do his own thing. That's fine. If you actually cared about how safe that was going to be built, that process would be significantly different than what it is now, or especially what it was 3 years ago.
Right.
So there's some major conflict happening in there, right? Okay. I want to get through some of these comments because there's a lot of
some good ones.
That was a 25-minute
soliloquy.
I might pull that out of this podcast.
No, you're not. That was the gold. This has happened before. Every time we get into Ledger Connection on any episode, it happens this way. So
just do a whole podcast about it.
We should. Haney Construction said, we have to roll back a ways to even understand what these references
What's up,
are.
Haney?
Haney Construction says, evaporate is the product that Jack Black and Ben Stiller created to spray on dog shit to make it disappear. Just saying.
Get rid of the poo. Poo be gone.
Strathcona Exterior says that deck failure with the shingle dude happened because of a Ledger Connection failure.
Right.
Oh,
correct. So he loaded up too much weight on the deck. Ledger wasn't connected properly. Ledger let go.
So
down the deck
this
goes.
is a video that you put on our TikTok?
No, I didn't repost it. It's just out there.
Just the TikTok.
Soon.
TC Deck says Wade seems pretty passionate about the subject.
It's wild.
Precision Construction Colorado.
It's wild.
He never used to have Colorado in his name. Precision Construction Colorado. What are you getting ready to expand, Scott? Or why the
don't
Precision Construction Colorado
sound.
Says, so the ribbed shank is for more than just her pleasure?
I was gonna make a condom joke.
You missed it. Scott, you get Bryce's job of innuendos for the day.
Settle down.
Hey.
Haney Construction then follows up with 1.5 thumbs up. Wade says, Precision, and you're killing me now with your jokes. Precision says, take the provision out of the code book that exempts the building department from liability.
No, I said it in bold.
And that's exactly what Wade's saying in bold, is that the inspector needs to have some liability, some skin in the game for this thing. TC Deck says, yes, hold the city inspector as liable as the contractor. Amen, Wade.
No, but more liable. More liable. Because he's the guy who told you.
It was okay.
He's the boss.
The buck stops at the inspector.
Or she's the boss. I don't give two poops who the person is.
We're well past poops, so you can say shit.
The person that makes that call, that person needs an insurance policy
on them
that pays for a deck failure.
You're absolutely right, because what is it when the inspector doesn't pass you the first time around? If he comes out and inspects the decks and there's an issue, why is he calling out that issue?
Well, so
he called that issue out because it didn't pass his or her certification. They're like, I'm accountable.
But they're
for
not.
this deck.
It doesn't really matter.
But what he or she is supposed to be doing is saying that's not done right because it's not safe. So they shouldn't be allowed to cherry pick the parts of the deck that they want to inspect oh, your pile is not wide enough.
Yeah.
Because that's a common thing. Your piles, in some areas, you have to get pile depth inspections. Your pile's not deep enough. Okay. So if you care about that, you need to care about all of it.
Well,
you don't get to just choose.
You run drywall.
Easy parts.
You run drywall screws into your hangers, and it's like that.
Mouth is really dry.
Yeah, but so like as in my former
go
life,
get yourself a drink.
even Wade's former life.
just go.
Yeah,
Just
just go get a drink.
go.
So
Can you guys
Wade's
carry this without
yeah,
me?
we can carry this. I
You've
got
been
something we can
handling
get
this
to.
for a
To lose my job.
Okay,
No,
so
you won't
in
lose
Wade's
your job.
former life and my former life, we were both within the oil field industry. Okay,
100%.
I was a land surveyor. Doesn't matter.
That was a rig hand.
You were a rig
We
hand.
were a long ways
Doesn't
apart.
matter. We were a long ways apart.
Yeah.
But saying that, a line locator was fully responsible to the point of insurance.
100%.
If you hit a line out there that they said wasn't there, it was their fault.
100%.
Doesn't matter who put it in the ground.
And
Why shouldn't they be? What else are they there for?
Our screw pile guy has that going on right now.
Right.
So we do a line locate in the backyard, and they meter out a line, and they're like, bop, 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 and they mark it all out, and they put the yellow flags in the ground. They do all this stuff, and then he tags a line. If he's inside of 3 meters of a marked line,
Feet.
1 meter, 1.3
1 meter.
1 meter, 3
1.3
feet.
1.3 meters.
1.3. Yeah.
If he hits that line, that's him. That's him. He pays that bill.
Right.
But if he's outside that line,
That's the line locator's fault.
Sask Energy pays that bill.
Well, the contractor.
Whomever. If you
They have insurance.
If you fasten a ledger to a house and you use smooth shank, non-galvanized nails,
That's the inspector's fault.
you should be held accountable because the inspector didn't catch that. Then the inspector should be accountable. The inspector, that's their job.
The inspector's job is to inspect it and make sure it was built to spec. So it's first an error on part of the contractor for not following proper building practices or the plan.
Right, but if you're
the
an
inspector's
inspector-
job is to make sure that they did. So if you also let that happen, you're just as much as fault as the guy who did it, right?
If you're a contractor, wouldn't you like to save $7 and do it faster? The contractor will always be faster and be cheaper. Always, 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 always.
That's not true. Scott Kelly builds brick shit houses with steel.
That's why there are safety. There's safety guys in every corporation, and their job exists because all of the workers will cut corners all the time.
You know who our safety guy
all the
is?
time.
But the problem with the ledger connection is that it's not
The city of Regina.
Right, exactly.
We pay that guy with our tax dollars, and so his job is to catch that.
Okay.
the problem with the
Next.
ledger boards
You got 2
commonly
minutes. Catch up.
Rage.
is that it's not the ledger's not put on by the deck builder. The ledger's put on by the framer.
But it's
He doesn't give no shits. They're not building the deck. What does he care?
I agree.
His job is to make sure that it's ready for stucco to go on.
Someone has to make sure that it is clearly defined whose job it is to put the ledger on.
And it's
correctly.
not clearly defined right now.
It's
When
not.
the framers
It's a gray
the deck guys
area.
will do this, and then the deck guys don't. Or the deck's not built by a deck guy. In 95% of the cases, it's not built by a deck guy.
Yeah.
It's in 60% of cases, it's probably built by the homeowner. In 30% of cases, it's the homeowner's buddy.
I really feel like you're just proving the point that it's the house. It's like whoever's building the house.
Right.
It falls
That's the
on
first.
them.
It's the first step.
If you're putting it on,
but it's not.
your
It's
fault.
not on them though.
If that board
I don't
gets-
believe it's not on them. Should they attach that properly? Yeah, they really, really should attach that properly.
I think-
but you, as the deck builder, should
That's
make
true.
sure it's
That-
attached.
I agree.
properly.
So Shane, what if
But you said DIY.
every single
but the DIY guy should make sure it's attached properly.
he doesn't know. What if every single home that got built over the next 20 years in Regina just did a smooth finish, like stucco to the ground, no ledger,
Yeah.
like none, 0 ledgers. So the framer didn't connect it. And then the ledger connection was the responsibility of the deck builder.
That's fine too.
Then what? Who owns that connection?
The deck builder.
The deck builder. But when
Right.
the when the
happens
homeowner
is,
puts it on,
So what happens is we actually maybe shouldn't be after the person connecting that ledger. We should be after the home builders being like, leave it alone because you're not doing this properly.
Yeah, I honestly believe that the home builder in that scenario is probably the least liable.
But they're
no. The home builder is the most liable because they put it on.
But
Just
they
leave it
didn't put it
alone.
on though. The subcontractor put it on.
Whoever
that's it.
Physically.
But that's them. They own that.
If you're
They own
contracted by someone, you're liable.
They own that.
Like if I subcontract you to do something, it's my shit.
That's right.
Sure, but another way to think about this is, let's say you bought a new truck and it didn't. No. Hold on here.
Okay.
Let's say GM puts out a new truck.
Yeah.
They don't put fog lights in because at that trim level you don't get fog lights.
Okay.
Okay. But they've put the spot for a fog light to go on.
Right.
Now, if you take it into a GM dealer
Okay.
and the dealer orders a part and puts the fog light in and the fog light doesn't work, whose fault is it? GM's because they made a spot for the fog light to go, or the dealer because they put the fog light on?
Which part failed though? Did the fog light
The
connection
fog
fail?
light connection failed. Sure.
Well, then that's GM's fault.
If
they
there was a
put it on
connection,
there.
if there was a connection there,
That's secondary.
but the wiring harness, and it was the dealer's responsibility to connect it and make sure it was working before it left the shop.
Right.
So you can't go back to GM then and be like, you made the fog light failed. Well, no, it didn't. We put a hole in the bumper. We put a cap over top. You installed it. Did you make sure it was done properly before it left? Yeah, I guess our shop manager had a
So,
look at
but
it.
that
And it
Ooh,
that argument,
that's a slippery slope.
that's why it's so
Slippery.
tricky because there's
It's a-
4 people involved every single time.
sticky
that
wicket.
argument would be that you had finished the stucco on the outside of the building and then you had cut into it and pushed it in. I believe that if you finish the envelope of the building as a builder, you've completely finished it. Done. And then you walk away. And then you add a deck to the house, which is then the responsibility of that person.
I mean, I agree.
It's
with
so
I agree with
tricky.
you.
It's
Right?
so tricky.
It's
Because
so tricky.
another analogy is, so the home builder doesn't put air conditioning in the unit, right?
Right, but I would never phone my
So
home
when the-
builder if I added an
When the HVAC guy comes in and installs the air conditioner, it's not the home builder's fault that the air conditioner wasn't installed properly. But what we're saying here is that what the home builder has done is secured the mounts to the side of the building ready for an air conditioner.
what I would
Yeah, if
what
my
I,
air, you know what? If my air
So you're
conditioner-
saying,
But what
don't
I-
even do that.
don't even do that.
Don't
what
do
I'm
that
saying
alone.
is like you built the house.
I agree.
Beat it. Like just finish it plain.
if my home builder would attach those to the side of the building and my air conditioner fell off,
I'm going to the home builder.
going to the home builder.
I can
100%.
be
He fucking put them on.
your page
They
anyway
put them
because
on.
Yeah.
the home builder slap. I don't even know how the hell they decide what size of ledger to put on there.
14 feet because it's the
14
cheapest
foot,
lumber. period.
100% every time.
They don't
It's
have to
14
cut it.
14
They
if
just
he's
pop
cheap.
nails
a
in.
scab dimension that you can't work
Anyways.
with.
It's gross.
It's always 14 feet. But I agree that they put this random piece of lumber on the building.
random,
and it's
it's
like
14
half
feet,
the
Shane.
time that people show up, they're like, well, I've got a ledger on there. Well, how big is it? Well, it's 10 feet. It's 14
foot, 2
feet.
by 8.
Well, how big do you want your deck to be? Well, 16 feet. So what's
Just
purpose
leave it
is the
alone.
ledger that's been stuccoed in there even serving at that point?
F, I hate home builders. They're the worst.
Easy. Okay, now we have some freaking comments.
Easy. Here we go.
USMC has joined us.
I hate the 14 foot because it's like that's not a good number.
It's not a good number.
It's not a good.
And it is
not
a common ledger.
It is a common ledger because it's the cheapest treated lumber, period. And so it hurts us. And not just like
Stop carrying it.
I don't want to sound super selfish, but it hurts the homeowner.
Right.
It doesn't hurt us. Like I don't give 2 shits if I sell 16-foot deck boards to that person. I actually make more money that way. So that's fine. But like if they sold a 16-foot ledger on the house, if they ponied up the extra $11, the homeowner would have a better buying experience later.
Yep.
So like,
My mortgage isn't hurt.
why are they
$11.
doing that?
I don't know that we found a solution to this. We still don't know who's responsible.
No, we do know.
They're all responsible.
No, the homeowner,
Why?
the home builder just doesn't put it on because the second they touch it, they should be responsible
I
for
would
it.
prefer if they didn't put it on.
That's true. Yeah.
I would prefer if they just didn't ever.
Okay,
That's what I mean.
So they don't put it on, and then the contractor goes and doesn't put it on right, and the inspector doesn't
then it's the
look at it right
contractor's
anyway.
fault.
And,
Right,
the
but then
and the inspector doesn't look at it
contractor's
right.
But
No,
if
but
the-
that's a contract.
Where does the buck stop?
Contractor's fault.
Is the
Yeah,
question, right?
it goes to
Is
the
it the first
contractor.
person or the last person or the guy in the middle?
whoever touches it,
All three of them.
No,
no,
it's
whoever
first
puts it on, whoever put it on first,
It's a contractor's fault.
But
Because
what's
they-
the inspector's job then?
because the inspector has to inspect it to make sure. I agree, the inspector has to inspect it.
He's supposed to make sure that number 2 did his job right. But if he passes it without it having been done right, what liability? Like he has to take some sort of responsibility,
Right, but we've already...
Or else why are we
hang
having
on.
it come out?
But we've already discussed that the home builder is not a deck builder.
Right, but we got home builder, contractor, inspector.
So we've moved on. We've moved on.
We haven't moved on. That's
No,
the-
we
No,
moved
we're
on.
in the
We
same
moved
spot.
on from built house to like now we're building a deck. It's always the inspector that's liable. It's always like in every.
Well, that's their job.
In every single scenario.
But if the ledger is not a part of the code, then it is not their fault.
Well, no, it is.
No.
It should be the inspector's fault, but it never is.
Every single scenario, it's the inspector's fault.
Is the inspector's job to make sure that people who don't know what they're doing did it correctly?
Yes.
Right.
Because
so
they
it
have
should be
to
their
go-
job. Because
their
the
job
city
is
is
to go
okay.
back and
Yes.
tell them to
Okay.
do it right.
The city is okay with you building your own deck.
But then it's the
They
city's
they
job.
require no qualifications for who can build a deck, right? You can't
okay.
go in and wire your own electrical panel.
We should
That's
really-
not allowed.
we should
Not
move
allowed.
on.
So if
No,
the
we
city's
can't.
okay, if the city's okay with that happening, you're allowed to build your own deck.
Yeah.
As long as we inspect it.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have admitted that you are fully responsible for it being safe the way it's built then.
Yes.
That's why I'm paying you to come out and
whatever
inspect
number it is.
So I agree. In the end, this is the inspector's fault.
But what is the point of a permit?
Also, you can't.
Right. What is the point of a permit?
So is the permit for tax reasons or is it for
exactly
safety?
Exactly.
I agree.
What is the reality? Tax
It's
reasons.
for tax reasons because they want to know how big
What should it
you're
be?
building your deck.
Safety, and that's why this is even a discussion. Because if it was actually for safety, it would go differently.
But if we know that it's for taxes, then it's the deck builder's fault.
Oh, you just mind effing me. What did you just say? If it's actually for taxes,
If we know that the permit is the only reason for the permit,
Right.
is to define how big the deck is, essentially,
right.
because the code does not
So then there should be no inspector. There should be,
Exactly. But they have to prove it.
The inspector's job is only to check size.
right. I agree. Here.
Yes. We've nailed it.
Rage.
We have changed the
con-
world.
You should conclude that.
Guys,
end it. Like hit the end button. Holy smokes. But I agree that the inspector
is useless.
I agree.
is the guy.
I agree.
No.
The builder should know better.
The builder
But
should
the
know
buck
better.
stops at the inspector. He has said this is a safe project.
It's confusing to the
I
people.
want you to know that when our company gets bought out for billions of dollars,
Wow. Okay. Yes.
this is what I will do with my life. I'm dead serious.
You're going to sit on this podcast and argue drinking scotch.
I'm dead serious. This is what I want out of my life. I want to make sure that the people that work for municipalities who get paid $90,000 a year to put check marks on a page and don't give two shits about the homeowner or the builder. I want those people to be accountable for decks that fall off the house. I want them to be aware of their consequences.
Correct.
That is all.
Correct.
And that doesn't mean I want them to be like failed, and I don't want them to be out of jobs. I just want them to be aware of how important their job is. And
So
currently,
I feel like
they aren't aware of it.
I know we've spent a half an hour on
this is such a good
one topic.
We're at 12 people watching now. That's how
I know,
you know it's good.
and it's very interesting.
I think that what we've come to here, we're trying to figure out who is accountable for the entire situation.
Wild.
Nobody's accountable to the entire situation.
Wild.
But
what it is the subcontractor is accountable to the home builder to do it right.
Yes.
Correct.
The inspector is accountable. The subcontractor is accountable to the inspector to make sure he does it right. Sorry, the home builder is accountable to the subcontractor to give them the proper way to do it. They're accountable to say, you're supposed to do it this way.
Correct.
Detailed.
Correct.
Right? Starts with the architect, actually.
Yes.
Architect to home builder, do it this way. Home builder to subcontractor, do it this way.
Yep.
Subcontractor to inspector, I did it this way. Is it good? Inspector, is the buck stops there.
So do we solve the problem by going to the architect?
No, the
Because if they
architect,
don't
I can
spec
almost
it-
promise you, is probably speccing it properly.
Well,
in my opinion,
so if the architect,
the person least
this like open
accountable,
up a whole can of worms for me. If the architect is going to spec something, and engineers, they spec shit to the nth degree,
right?
To the absolute.
The engineer is going to give you at minimum what the code is,
correct,
or beyond.
So then it's the next guy in line.
The home builder
does not follow the architect's plan or the engineer's plan that is completely at fault.
And the home builder is going to not pay too much attention about how the deck ledger was attached to the house. He's going to give that to the contractor and say, bid this and build it.
But the architect already told them. It's already there. And if you don't do it that way, then it is not safe as per the engineer or architect.
Right. In my opinion, as we speak this through,
our argument holds still on the home builder is not accountable for that.
The home builder seems to me the least accountable.
But the plan has already been, the plan has already passed the permit. And so if you don't build it to that specification,
but the home builder didn't build it.
Okay,
so the home builder paid somebody.
Now, but here's my argument.
The home builder paid somebody to make a plan that was safe.
Okay, here's my argument.
Check. Home builder hired somebody to build it safe.
Let him
Check.
finish.
Okay, here's my argument.
Right?
I get a box of Lego.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I get a box of Lego.
Good.
Okay, I open the box up. I look at the instructions.
Right.
I'm like, this is how I want it built. It's gonna look like the box. I pass it to my 5-year-old.
Yep.
And I'm like, build this.
Yes.
They don't follow the instructions.
Right.
And then they say it's done.
Contractor's fault. At that point, your kid is the contractor.
Right.
Who is the home builder? Is Walmart.
No, that's me.
No.
I'm the home
You're
builder.
the
I'm the home builder.
Yes. So sure, you're the home builder, not your fault.
Why isn't it my fault?
Because you didn't build it.
But
nor did you make the instruction on how to build it.
Bryce,
I told my
Bryce.
kid to build it.
No.
Bryce,
you asked him to build it, but you
Shane,
didn't make the
Shane,
instructions. Wade, you stop. You didn't make the instructions on how to build it.
You didn't make the instructions.
I didn't make the instructions.
Right. So you're
That's
least
true.
liable.
And
Right.
so like
If the instructions were incorrect,
But the instructions were correct.
then your daughter's the fault.
Whoa,
That's
whoa,
the
whoa, whoa,
contractor.
whoa.
no,
And then
Shane's right in this.
who's the inspector that inspects it? They're also at fault.
who
So the
inspected it?
contractor and the inspector in tandem are at fault for not being done.
100%. So
But the last check mark was the inspector.
Inspector.
Was the inspector.
right.
Okay.
And that person needs to lose their job. 100%.
Okay.
So
There it is.
like you
That's fair.
were a
I passed
vehicle.
it off.
You were a vehicle.
But as someone who passed it off, isn't liability
So
with
as
me
a- No. as
that
a-
it didn't get built the way I wanted it
If
to be
you
built as
wanna
a home
be-
builder?
It looks shitty on you for sure.
If you
From
want to be
a-
the best
from
home
an
builder,
optics
if you want to be the
perspective.
best home builder of all time, you caught it before the inspector caught it. And
Why
then
did you
fixed
hire an architect to design that in the first place and an engineer?
I didn't. I just bought it. I bought it from Walmart. It's
Right.
Lego.
No. Okay.
that. But
Why?
same idea, same idea,
Hold on.
same idea.
Hold on though. Why did you buy a prepackaged pack of Lego instead of making your own Lego in your garage?
Right. Because I liked the way it looked.
Right.
Because you didn't know how.
Yes.
So you trusted that the person who did know how did it properly, right?
Yes.
Engineer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You did nothing wrong. You didn't know how, so you trusted. You hired and paid money to somebody who did know how.
of money.
Did know how. You
Yep.
said, "I don't know how to do this. Tell me how this is supposed to be done."
So they
They're
tell
like,
me how to do
Here's
it.
how it's supposed to be done. Thank you. I paid you. That transaction's done.
Right.
You then
now-
now you're like, Great. I've got the instructions. I don't know how to build this myself, or I don't have the time, or it doesn't matter why. But I am hiring you to build this.
So if I hire you though,
if this person builds it the way it was done and it fails, then it's back to the architect engineer's fault.
Right. But we've already discussed that they're not building the way that they say it was spec'd.
Then these guys are out of it. Home builder is out of it.
Right.
Because he has hired you to do it.
So now we're on
properly according to the specs that were good.
Okay, so now we're on to the subcontractor.
Now we're on to the subcontractor.
Now, the only problem with the subcontractor and the contractor relationship is I'm liable for everything the subcontractor does.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
If it stopped there.
But it does stop there.
It doesn't stop there.
No, it
because
doesn't
I was
stop there.
I was told to put the ledger on in a certain way.
If that contractor is installing vinyl plank flooring.
Okay.
And it's shitty. Who's the final inspection done for that flooring? The home builder. The home builder doesn't walk through and be like, this looks fine to me, and sells the house and it's not fine. Then they can be like, well, we paid the contractor already because it looked good. We did our inspection, it looked good. But in the case of a deck, that isn't the final stop. The final stop is the inspector. So if the home builder says, hey, inspector, the deck's done, the house is done, we'd like you to come out and do your final inspection. Inspector comes out and says, everything looks great. This is one of the best built houses I've ever seen.
Yeah, okay.
All
and
of
you
the
say,
toilets
sounds good.
Yeah,
Check,
for
check,
sure.
check. Deck was built properly. And the home builder's like, sounds good. I paid a guy to make sure it was built properly. I hired a guy to make sure it was built properly. And then I phoned the city to make sure that it was inspected and it was built properly.
That's true.
And you said it was.
I agree.
So now the home builder's like, as far as I knew, I did everything exactly by the book.
Right.
They're out.
Right. They're out. They're out.
None of this
They're
falls
out.
on them.
They're out.
It starts at the home inspector. Why did you pass a deck?
Yes.
Why did you
I
pass
agree.
a deck that was not safe?
I agree.
Because it was done exactly as the
Starts
plan
at
said.
the home inspector.
Okay.
Bryce had
Engineer, why did you say to build it like that?
I agree. It starts at the home inspector, but it's not the home inspector's fault.
Turns out it's Friday at 6.
It is the home inspector's fault for passing it.
No.
Friday at 6, and Bryce would like to go home.
It is 6.
And
It's 5:43.
5:43. We got time.
We better clear up.
Bryce is like, Shane, typically Wade gets heated.
Yeah.
Let's go through the comments. Boy, there's been a few. Okay.
So guys, I don't.
So I was going to go
I
through
don't-
the comments.
It's gonna
I
be
don't
2
disagree
hours.
with any of you guys. I think we're all on
we're
the
just
same
having a
page.
discussion.
We
I think
are.
We're all on the same page.
We are.
Inspectors are awful people, and they should all die of cancer.
Fuck.
No,
Settle down. That's my
inspectors,
first F-bomb.
but the thing is, inspectors should be able to be
They're not
put
accountable.
liable. No, they should, but they should be right.
Right.
They're liable, and then
If a delivery guy from our store
Just wait,
delivers
just wait.
something incorrectly, whose fault is it?
The delivery
It ends up
guy.
on your
No.
shoulders essentially because you hired them and you didn't train them properly. So the inspector's same scenario. It's the city's.
no,
city's fault.
but what happens is it's just a chain of events,
it is a chain of events.
right?
Absolutely.
So everyone should be liable,
But
To the next
in
guy.
what order?
At some point,
Correct.
It
That's
has
how
to
I
stop.
think it should
has
happen.
to stop
to the
somewhere.
last guy.
To the last guy.
It has
So
to
the
stop
last guy
somewhere.
that's responsible is
So if
the architect.
If a no. If a student writes a test and gets one wrong, if a student writes a test and gets it right or wrong, doesn't matter, and
Right.
the teacher marks it wrong, but it was right, it's the teacher's fault.
Correct.
And if it's wrong and the teacher marks it right, teacher's fault still.
Correct.
You marked it incorrectly.
Correct.
Yes, the student did get it wrong, but you were the final say. Your job
those are
as
two-
a teacher is
no,
to make sure that we're doing it right.
Those are two different jobs, though, because like there's a marker and a teacher. Anyways,
Deck guy, the deck guy. This is like from 24 minutes ago. The deck guy, Long Island, says, "Is Fibron Cottage your number one board? Pretty popular on the East Coast here in the States."
Yes.
I wanted to read
It's a
that because I
great
knew it would send
ledger
us.
connection.
Yes, it is our number one board. Fibron Cottage crushes. USMC says, "What's up, boys?" Deck Protect. John Witt
Ledger
wants to know,
connectors.
what is that? What was poured?
it's
Scott Kelly sent it to us for Christmas, I believe, and Wade finished his bottle. Now we're on to my bottle.
Scott Kelly sent it to you.
No, he sent one to each.
One to each of us. Wade finished
We
his.
drank the other one.
State 38. Straight bourbon whiskey. State 38.
It's really good
West
bourbon.
flowing. Precision Construct. No, hold on. USMC says I'm having some Cava de Oro tequila with you guys. Precision Construction Colorado.
Cinco de Mayo, right?
So
That was
it is
yesterday.
Cinco, that was yesterday. Cinco de Sixo. Now.
It's the Cinco de Sixo.
Precision Construction says the building department collects money under the house. Whatever that means.
Does that happen in Colorado?
Haney Construction says it is totally the responsibility of any builder, whether professional or some idiot homeowner, to know what to do and to do it correctly. The inspector is the last line of safety defense. Also right.
But
Both things.
And that's
are
why
true.
they're also liable.
But Haney, aren't they responsible? Isn't the inspector
The builder is
you know what?
responsible
Here's
to
the-
the inspector.
Okay,
if the
let's
inspector says
just-
fix this, the builder has to do it. Not builder,
so
sorry.
here's the thing.
The contractor.
I still believe
Here's
the
the thing.
inspector
Here's
is
the
the
thing.
last.
It doesn't. He is the last stop.
Yeah.
But it doesn't absolve responsibility from the other parties.
No, it does.
No,
it does.
it doesn't.
I kind of feel like it does.
No, it
reason
doesn't.
I kind of feel like it does.
I paid that guy. To tell me what was
then
right.
it's my fault because I didn't look into the fact that they're gonna do shitty things. I don't go to the grocer and like get shitty product and then blame
No,
them.
but you get to choose that. You get to choose the
exactly.
product.
You get to choose it.
So when you build a deck, you don't get to choose your product.
Why
build-
not?
No, you don't.
You
get to.
hire a contractor.
I'm lost in that analogy.
So listen, you go to the grocery store and you pay for strawberries and you get to like pick through the strawberries and you take the ones you like. But when
Well, you get
build,
to choose your lumber too.
when you,
But it's not
you
the
get to choose
lumber.
your lumber, but you don't get to choose your deck build.
Who doesn't
I
get
go,
to choose?
I go to the. I go to
you hired
the.
a
You absolutely
contractor.
No, I
So
go to the
you-
straw.
you hired
I
a
go to the
contractor,
strawberries. I
built
look
it.
at the strawberries. I'm like, I don't like this brand of strawberries, and I go pick another strawberries because the other strawberries go bad all the time.
Right. But
Right.
you-
But if at the till there was somebody hired that you had to pay $100 to
This is like-
inspect your strawberries before you left, and you placed them there and said, "Here's $100 to pay you. Can you please make sure none of my strawberries are rotten?" That's his job.
Right.
And
Isn't
he
that-
inspects them and
isn't-
says,
isn't
"None
that
of
the
the strawberries are rotten."
Yeah,
you
you
buy
do.
them, and there's rotten strawberries.
You do pay
Whose
that.
fault is it then?
That's the store's
it's the
fault.
Strawberry inspector's fault.
No, it's the store's fault.
No,
The
it's not,
No,
Bryce.
but this.
Bryce.
Just listen.
because the strawberry inspector works for the store.
The strawberry inspector works for the store.
The deck inspector works for the city.
yes, they do.
That's true.
And that's what I'm saying is that it's the city's fault. It's the inspector's fault.
This is.
But he
this is
represents the city.
craziest conversation.
It is.
And this is like, this isn't a gray conversation. This is a black and white conversation.
It's not black and white.
I feel like this is the
This
least
is-
black and white thing we've ever done.
This is the largest gradient of gray
No.
I've ever encountered.
Yeah, it's very
This is
gray.
like it starts at gray and it kind of ends at gray, and it's like really
Guys.
slightly different.
Okay, hold on. Precision because we've been talking about it for 40 minutes. It's clearly not black and white.
Everybody's fault.
But I agree that we're ending on.
I don't think we're gonna get through this list.
It's a chain of accountability that ends with the inspector, but the inspector works for the city.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
now
then-
we're just moving the goalpost.
No, we're not moving the goalpost.
I agree though. It's the city's fault.
Whose fucking fault is this?
But it's what like we have to figure out.
So, Bryce, if you run a billboard out there in the city that says, "I'd like to shit on Main Street," and that's what the billboard says.
That's what
Who is the ad company calling? Probably not you. They're probably calling me or Wade, and it's like, "The Ultimate Deck Shop ran some shit."
Yeah, but then you're gonna call
did
me.
it. You did. Yeah, that's right. I am going to hold you
I agree.
accountable.
I totally
but
agree.
ultimately, the buck stops with the Ultimate Deck Shop as a company, right?
I totally agree.
That company's not going to be like,
We've already agreed upon this.
yes. So the inspector is at fault, and by proxy, because the city hired, trained, and employed him to do that job,
Yes.
the city is at fault.
Right.
Then it's their responsibility. It's their insurance that needs to cover whatever damage might be done.
And the city can go after
They can act
such
upon
and such and such.
the inspector and say, like, your termination is over.
effective immediately.
Yeah, like you're done.
Right.
And maybe there's a case. I don't know what the scenario is. Maybe they can sue
Shall we
that guy
go
and be
to
like,
court?
Of course they
this
can.
was you. This was negligence of your job, which we can prove that we properly trained you and gave you the proper
Yeah.
checklist and blah blah blah.
Listen,
So
that's when I retire. That's
Yeah.
my job.
Go
That's
for it.
what I'll do.
Precision
That's my job.
Construction says, "Damn it." Under the guise that the
100%.
permit protects the homeowner, The building inspector is supposed to verify that builders are doing things right. If they don't do that, then why are they taking money?
Right.
Exactly.
And that's exactly it. And
I totally agree with you.
oh man,
Totally agree.
Haney
We're
Construction
all on
says,
the same page.
hire shit, pay for shit, don't complain to get shit.
The only thing that sucks about this is that the city decides what falls under inspection. And you guys
Correct.
in the beginning told me that Ledger did not fall under permit requirements until 2 years ago.
And the city got 20 people in a room and said, you guys decide. So it's your fault, Wade.
So it's your fault.
I told them. That was the most important thing.
Your fault is over. Mountain View Joel says, what are you talking about? You guys are handsome devils.
I told them.
West Coast Deck says a decent contractor would also inspect it before he builds a deck onto it.
But it's not
Correct.
their fault.
True, Shane, he says. It is their fault, but
No, it's not.
from
You just said it was the permit inspector's
From
fault.
a legal perspective, they have an argument for sure.
The permit inspector has.
From a legal perspective,
Are we arguing anymore?
everybody is at fault. But
Yes.
we're trying to determine if one person's got to pay,
If you're the,
who is it?
Okay, well, if you're the homeowner, the only person that has to pay is the permit inspector. If you're the permit inspector, the only person that has to pay is nobody, right? That's what you guys are saying.
The city.
So, listen, here's the thing.
Potentially.
So the city permit inspector, that's the same being.
If
They're
you're-
not-
If you're
not
gonna, if
ish,
you're
though.
gonna show up and inspect my deck, you're accountable.
Okay, right. As a homeowner.
Period. Nope. Period.
But who you work for is probably
I don't give.
responsible.
Well, sure, because you get a handsome wage to be like
As a contractor?
Nope. No.
Right.
You have like somebody.
No, but if you're a contractor, is the permit inspector responsible for you building it properly or improperly?
did you get a permit?
That is his. Actually, that is exactly what he's supposed to
Okay,
do.
there you go.
Did you get a permit? If you got
His
a
job
permit,
is to make sure it was built properly. That's why
Okay.
he's out there.
If
Okay.
you got a permit, that person is accountable.
He shouldn't have to make sure,
Over,
but he is.
But he
There's
is.
like
sure.
I don't think there should be any argument in that. I don't think there should be any extenuating circumstances. I think that
So then the only person, as long as all of the steps were followed correctly,
based on the city of Regina or the city of Saskatoon or the city of
but as long
whatever
as
city you're in,
everything was followed correctly,
we have this guideline that we sent to you.
right?
We have this guideline. We sent it to you.
Okay.
Then we sent out this this guy who
I think we're
passed-
all on the same page.
I think we are too.
We've said the same
The
thing.
burden of proof
this-
is on the inspector to say, why did you pass it?
Why did
well,
you
because
pass
it
it?
was done correctly.
We sent this guy out who has
or
like
it wasn't done correctly. Well, then why did you pass it?
he has a grade
your fault either way.
7
Yep.
reading level and a grade 11 math,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
he doesn't really
Easy.
know.
Easy.
Haney Construction, when did NERF take over building inspections? I don't know what that means. Mountain View Joel, to be a home inspector. I don't know what that means.
Let's not even get into who can be a home inspector, but it's the
deck-
same.
well-
it's the same thing as who can be a deck builder.
Rage. I have
The deck guy says, what about the engineer architect who came up with the plans?
As long as
Agreed.
but we've already
As long
talked
as-
about that. As
they're
long as it
probably
was
the most.
followed.
They're probably the most in the right usually. Mountain View Joel says, if you pay for a permit, then the people you pay to check off the documents
Yes.
should be on the hook if everything is done to
Fuck.
plan. If
Oh.
everything is planned, yes.
Yes. That's it.
Mountain View
That's it.
Joel says,
That's it.
then it's on the builder to follow the plan.
Right.
But it's
And
not,
if, but
it's
if but if
not
it's,
on the builder.
It is on the builder to follow the plan.
if it's proven that they didn't that's where the inspector can go after the builder.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. That's where the inspector.
Done.
That's what I've been trying to say.
I'll agree with you.
The
We've said
inspector
that
can
from 20 minutes ago. We said the builder is the contractor is responsible to the inspector.
Yeah.
If the inspector says not done right, fix
Build your
it.
shit.
The builder has to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
But
Yeah.
the inspector's job is
But
to
if the
catch that.
if the inspector doesn't say don't fix it, it's the inspector's fault.
Correct. If he
Okay.
says this looks fine, then it's his fault. You said it looked fine.
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
But if you say it doesn't look fine,
Man,
the tricky thing is if he says it doesn't look fine, who applied for the permit? The home builder. So now we're middlemaning again. It goes back to the home builder
No,
to say
but
like,
we're not middlemaning
fix
because
it.
the home builder didn't follow what
but
they
the
said
home
they were
builder
gonna do.
applied for the permit, not the contractor.
Home builder.
Whoa.
Home builder built. Inspector said looks fine.
If the inspector said looks fine,
then
it's the inspector's fault.
On the inspector.
Yeah.
Done.
100%.
Done. Over.
Yeah.
As long as
Just
it's
over.
approved by the inspector, it's their fault.
And in my opinion, also, if the inspector says looks fine and it's not fine, it's still his fault.
Still
Of
his
course
fault.
it is.
Still his fault.
Deck Protect says, remember when we first met? Welcome to where I was. There's so many comments I don't understand what they mean, but I get most of that. Mountain View Joel, the ledger is equal to the foundation. If the ledger is not installed properly, then it's on whoever didn't secure the ledger. Okay, that's not the inspector. That's the contractor.
It's the inspector.
Or the home builder.
No.
No, I don't.
The Deck Guy Long Island says, if an architect comes up with a set of plans and it's approved by the plans examiner, then it doesn't matter who builds it. The inspector's job is to make sure what is on the paper
That's what we
is
said.
present.
That's what we said.
Bam.
Yep.
I
Right.
agree with that. Like all of the percents.
Right. So the thing is, the inspector has multiple levels that they can go after. If they said it,
Right, but they're the final
they-
check and balance.
Right, but-
they can go after anybody up in the chain.
Right, exactly. But
Him,
if they look at
he
the
wins. That
if
guy
they look at
wins.
the architect and the architect passed it and it was permitted and passed it and they said all good, right? Because it follows the plan, and the deck fails, the permit inspector can then go after the architect.
As long
But
as
it's
everything
still
is
the
followed.
architect's fault.
Correct.
But it's still the
Well,
permit
no-
inspectors. They have to go after the
Oh,
permit
boy.
inspector.
This is where there is scenarios.
Right.
So if it was all built according to plan perfectly,
Right.
Which
inspectors
has never happened.
But it doesn't
But
matter.
if it
one
does, and that
Theoretically.
fails, theoretically, it's like, did the contractor do his job like he was supposed to? Yes.
Yes.
Did the home builder do their part in this appropriately? Yes.
Yes.
Did the architect design this properly? No, it failed.
No.
Was the inspector liable because he approved a plan that was executed perfectly? No, he approved it according to everything that was supposed to be done. Yes. So then
Right.
sure it's back to the architect.
But no, hang on. But the thing that you've thrown into the mix is that if it failed, why did the permits department pass it?
Because they're checking boxes off what's
No,
in the
no.
National Building Code, and as long as sorry,
No, but if it-
that's not even true,
But
because
if it passed,
if that plan
the
is
passed
stamped
permit-
with an engineer's stamp, they don't reference their National Building Code. They say this engineer, the stamp itself carries
I
all
agree.
the weight.
I agree.
So the inspector
But
can go back and
none
be
of
like,
the liability.
I need to make sure that what's on this plan
None
that
of
was
the
stamped
liability.
was executed to what the plan says. And if it
Correct.
is,
then
the engineer's stamp means if this is built the way I said it's going to be built, it's going to be fine.
Right.
And if it's not, then it's their fault.
right. Have you
Hence
ever-
why they overbuild the shit out of everything,
have you
because they
ever
don't want it
signed
to be
an
their fault.
engineer's contract before?
No.
Yeah, they all say like not our
fuck,
fault.
Still not our fault. Even though, yeah, exactly.
Zero.
But I
Even
feel
if you
like
build
in
it to the end, like right to the.
I feel like
the
that's
number.
great and dandy to say, but I feel like in a court it would be like, well, whose fault is it then?
The
Like,
problem is
it
the
has to be
engineer.
your
The
fault.
problem is the engineer
Unless
lives
they
in
can-
a virtual world, and they
unless
can
they can-
always argue.
Right.
not
They
going
can
to court
claim
with
that
them.
like extenuating circumstance, acts of God, blah, blah, blah.
I said 0.000000001 of an
Right.
inch.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
you guys,
exactly.
you guys
Yeah.
only got 0.1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Anyways,
plenty of ways to pass the buck. That's for sure.
let's finish this up.
Anyways,
The deck guy says, what are we talking about? Using sheetrock screws.
What are we talking?
What are we talking about? Using sheetrock screws to
two
tie the ledger to the
podcasts here.
house. That's 100% the inspector.
have you seen the heater on Shane's forehead?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it showing
I can
right now?
see it now.
Right there.
I got one right here. I had one.
I went after this thing like it owed me money. I'm paying the price for that. West Coast Decks. If guns don't kill people, here we go.
So
Now
good.
Wade's gonna go on and on and on.
Yeah.
West Coast Decks. If guns don't kill people because it's the people that kill people,
Yeah.
then toasters don't toast. Toast.
People toast.
He's right.
People, but
Toast.
No.
He sounds like the kind of guy that should be here live in studio
People
on a podcast.
People don't toast, and toast doesn't toast.
Toast.
No, toast bread.
Toast. Well, toast bread. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Because bread isn't toast until it's toasted.
Haney Construction said, so this is 50 Shades of
Shane,
Wade.
I think your
I'm not sure.
phone's ringing.
It is. It's probably my wife being like, are you kidding me? Like, are you
Are you
Still there talking about this shit.
You went golfing.
USMC says, what if it's great? More hypotheticals. What if it's built to the architect's design and passed by the inspector, but not to manufacturer's specs? We haven't even included the manufacturer
It's
yet.
the manufacturer's fault.
All right.
I mean, if the ledger connection fails,
That's got to be the manufacturer's fault.
it's the manufacturer's fault. There's
100%.
I don't even think there's a question.
End of story. You in? All right.
Because this is the council
three
of
across the board. West Coast Deck says if we fly him out, he'll be on the podcast. Can we phone you instead? That'll work better. Number 8. Holy shit. Are we actually moving on? Yeah. This is a real thing?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything
Sorry.
else.
Number
even if
7.
I don't.
Number 7, bracing. If your deck has started to develop a bit of a sway to it, it's like you're walking across it, you stop and the whole deck kind of like shakes a little bit. Make sure that you have the appropriate bracing underneath to make sure that it's not going to fold over on you.
Right. Make sure the inspector passed that bracing.
The post to beam connection is a hinge point. That can fold over if there's too much like.
How did you bring that back?
What? You brought it back.
No, I know, but you just pushed on like
I'm cruising.
like nothing ever happened.
Nothing did happen. Just 40 minutes of us agreeing with each other in roundabout ways. So number 7, make sure and maybe over time this thing's gotten a little bit more looser, needs tightened up, but maybe you need to throw some bracing in there, put some knee bracing in, some V bracing, W bracing, whatever. It might need to be stiffened up a little bit.
Yeah.
Number 8, are the stairs still level?
My deck's not level anymore.
Who'd you have build it? Exactly. I'm just kidding.
You know who I have.
I know. I do know.
I think you should go after the home builder.
Yeah. So
That was in the 7. I don't even know who built my house.
yeah, Stamen. The number 8, the stairs still level. So often, like builders that are serious about building things that aren't going to move anywhere are going to put the stairs on piles too. But often they don't.
Or at least
Who puts
adjustable.
stairs on
They put the stairs on a slab, or maybe they put it into some sort of like shallow depth screw pile with adjustability. But there's chance that the stairs move at a different rate than the rest of the deck does. Have the stairs frost heaved or settled in a different rate than what the deck has done, and has that created an issue where it's like the stairs aren't level left to right, which is a problem, or are they pitched not really level any other way? Have they presented a trip hazard is what we're actually after here. Have they settled in some way to present a trip hazard?
Slightly out of level is not that's not a hazard. Okay?
Not right now for you, no.
No, but like
you'll work just fine with upside down.
there's
stairs.
no
I think I'm gonna really
reason
need to speed up
there's
Wade's
no reason
vocabulary.
to light up your
How many Zeds are in
contractor.
hazard?
You don't have to light your contractor up because your stairs are like just slightly out of level.
No, but I'm saying
But, like,
over
call
time.
them
We're
and be
talking about
like-
like, has it deteriorated
Yeah.
to a point?
Yeah, these are homeowners checking their shit.
Yeah.
Right. So
The stairs
you're a
are probably
homeowner-
fine day one.
So you're a homeowner and your deck has gone slightly out of level.
Inspector's fault.
What?
Continue.
Am I gonna light the contractor up for this?
No.
I don't think you should.
I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying check them to make sure they're
Yeah,
still
just
good.
check them. You got
To make sure they're safe. Not saying you got to light anybody up.
It's deck safety month, not light your contractor up. month.
Well, like,
That's June. Relax.
So, like-
Once you find out all the problems in May, then light your
Exactly.
contract up in June.
call your contractor and be like, "Hey,
After a few beers,
how are you?"
Get blasted and then call your
It's a
contract.
Wednesday.
you drunk dial your contractor.
What's up, Kevin? What are you wearing?
I know you're gonna crush some bicep curls, but the deck isn't level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stairs. So make sure that the stairs are not presenting a tripping hazard. That's
Right.
what we're actually after here. So unbelievable. What are we
Is
at?
that the
Bryce?
end?
It is the end. That's 8. We had 8.
hours
You'd
later.
think it was 42 the way that went on and on.
Hour
and 43.
43 minutes.
My God.
Remember
USMC
last week when we were talking about
middle was hot.
whatever it was that we were talking about?
Yeah. USMC says frost heave is a thing.
Yeah.
Where's he from? Texas? Yeah. It is a thing.
middle is hot.
Where the ground freezes, it swells essentially.
Yeah.
Right. And so here,
It
where
freezes.
frost depth is 6 or 7
I was
feet,
going to say it freezes deep.
it can push up. It can
We don't
push the
got-
ground up like 2 or 3 inches.
We don't got that little freeze.
Like the deck literally sits good today, and in like 3 months from now, and not like I'm not talking today now. 3 months from now,
3
we're
months from
laughing.
today.
We're in the middle of summer. But October to January, that deck might heave an inch or two.
Yeah.
Problem. Yeah.
Like once the frost heave sets in. So yes, it's a real thing. Haney Construction says the Council of Ricks is arguing about the citadel of decks.
The Ricks.
Do we all still agree about doing great work? Cool. Sounds good.
Oh, man.
So we can all agree that you should just build your deck properly and then nobody's at fault.
Yeah, except for the permit inspector.
Yeah, that guy's in a no-win situation.
That guy doesn't win.
He is absolutely
If
worst
anything goes
job
wrong,
ever.
it's
Those
his
guys
fault.
should get paid at least $300 a year. Thanks for sticking with us through this entire hour and 45 minutes of heated conversation. It was good until we got to number 6, Ledger Connection.
I feel like I could break that out.
Into multiple episodes?
Yeah, I feel like I could break half an hour out.
My God, you almost probably could, but we'll leave it as is. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching with us this week. If you've got some more episode ideas, send them our way. We really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Hit it, Bryce!
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.
Nobody fell off a dog and died.
No, I said it in bold.